Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we are making a fun wave bracelet. These I think are the best way to get into alphas. I made my first one before I even knew what an alpha was, and it set me up like so well for being able to make alphas. So if you are interested in making alpha bracelets or alpha patterns, this is a really good first step for you to get the technique, just the basic alpha technique down before we worry about the patterns and colors and all that. Without further ado, we're gonna get right into the tutorial. All right, these are the strings that I'm using. I've got an ombre, this is loops and threads. These two are iris. If you are wondering where to get string, what kind of string to even use for this kind of thing, I tested a bunch of different kinds of embroidery floss to see which one is best, and I have the best one linked down in the description. Now we're gonna get into it. For realsies this time. For string lengths, I've cut 4 strings, 20 inches of white, and then you can do any 2 colors you like for the wave, 94 inches of each color. So I have a light pink and an ombre. As far as setup, these white strings are what we call base strings. They're strings that just exist and don't do any knotting whatsoever. Now obviously I've got this one into a big ball despite trying to be careful, but it's okay. We're just going to very gently pull it apart until I figure out where the end is.
One eternity later.
Okay, we are untangled. We're going to attempt to stay that way. All right, I like to have just about 3-4 inches of braid at the end. So in order to do that, I need about 6 inches of extra string. And grab a little piece of tape and tape it down. So here, we've got it. So I'm gonna start. I have the ombre color on the farthest outside. I'm gonna check again to make sure that it's not tangled. Again, that is an issue we will come up with a lot. All right, all you need to know is forward knot and backward knot. That's it. So, as a reminder, forward, you make a nice figure 4, fingers through, here. Now, pulling on this is where we need to be careful. See, I've already gotten a knot, but if you are just gentle with it, you don't yank, which is something that I'll probably do eventually. Then it comes, if you have any of these lying around, just wrap it up. So, now that we're here, I have a little bit of slack. We're going to do another forward knot, but it's so much easier this way. I make my 4, pass the whole wrapped thing through, and it's a knot. There. That's how I normally make alpha bracelets. I guess you might as well do that. But even if, before I had those plastic things, first you can get them really cheap. You can even get cardboard ones at the store or whatever. I'll find a link of some. But you don't even have to do that. Before I just wrapped it around my fingers like this. It might get a little tangled, but it's way better than the other. So this one wrapped around my fingers, and it's the same thing. We're not onto this yet, but here I'd pass it through. Just like that. I'm gonna keep doing my forward knots down this end here. There. All right. Here, I'm going to do basically the same thing. Forward knot with this pink down, and these white strings are my base strings. The pink strings are going to be doing the knotting. So this is the actual pattern now, starting. The first row was just to get it to go across. or to get the two on opposite sides. All right, so now we're doing our last set of forward knots. And then, this is the part that always confused me a little bit. I want you to do a backward knot on the same string. You know, typically in normal patterns, you wouldn't do two complete knots on the same string, but I promise this is totally normal and how you do it in alphas. So now I'm doing backward knots, so remember backward 4 through all the way down until I get to the end. Realize the strings could not have started in a spot where they looked more similar. So if that's confusing, I apologize. This one should change in a little bit. So now I want to do the same thing, but opposite, with this string. So from now on, well, from that first one, these strings will not knot on each other. So they're doing the knots, but only on these 4 bass strings. These 4 bass strings, they don't do anything. Right, so one thing to be careful of is this part here, where it's going to come back around. Just be aware. Make sure it looks decent. There we go. So now I'm doing backward knots all the way down. Whoop. Got a little excited. There we go. And here, now I switch to forward knots again. So we're going the other direction. Remember, it takes 2 knots to make one forward knot or backward knot. I haven't thought of better terminology, so they're all just knots. Alright, so when I finish this up, I have forward knots on this side. I think I'll kind of go down a little bit more until the string colors are not literally identical so that you can tell the difference. So I apologize if this is now confusing. So if I sound like my head has been stuffed full of cotton, I apologize. It is cold and flu season, so I'm sick of it. That's why. We've finally gotten into our lovely section of hot pink, so I will do another round of showing both, or showing like the full cycle again. This is the light pink. Here I'm starting with forward knots. So, just as a reminder, a backward knot would be, right now I just did my forward, and then I would immediately go into doing the backward. That's one knot. Like 2 knots makes 1 knot. 1 forward backward knot combined. I want them separate. So, get rid of that. I want to do another to finish my forward, and now I want to do 2 more to make a backward. So now my 4 is going the other way, in and around, and I do it again. And then I continue the backward knots down on this side. Starting with a backward knot, again, I knot it to the outside to make sure it goes around and not over top the last section. That was a backward, and then this backward I come across because I do want the string going in that direction. So I want 2 knots going backward and then I do 2 going forward. So with this, you can add as many bass strings as you want. All right, I've got the bracelet. It's at 6 inches. I think we measured pretty good, if I do say so myself. So I'm happy with the string lengths that we did for our 6-inch bracelet. I'm going to make this permanent because I'm just going to tie it on my ankle. Now these 2 strings are separate. This one is up a leg, so I'm just going to do 1 knot, and this I'm actually going to do forward, backward knot. This is the one time I want you to do a forward, backward knot, so that it's nice and on the outside. And then I'll do a square knot, just to end it all together. You might want to use the white strings if you like the look of it, or if you're running low like I am, I just know that it'll be enough to wrap around my ankle, so my braids might be a little short on this side. Alright, I'll flip her around. Same thing on the other side. If you squish it, it's pretty straight, so I think I'll just do this side and then the white on the other side and just squish it up so that it's has less of an angle on it. It might have a little bit of an angle, that's just kind of how it is. I just like how square knots finish it, but you honestly don't have to do a square knot. That's just automatically what I do. But you don't have to. At least this style doesn't really need anything to gather it up. Some of them do. Okay, I'm gonna braid both sides. Alright, all done. Now, I don't know if this turned out exactly, definitely not what I was imagining, but leave me a comment, let me know if it's ugly or not. And then I've got the braids on each side. You can just tie it in a double knot and it'll stay on permanently. Well done! We finished the bracelet, we're all good. So I hope it went well for you. If you have questions, drop them down in the comments below. I will do my very best to help you out. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel because I have weekly videos coming out. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.